There have been many bloody tyrants and dictators throughout history. We only have to go back into the 20th century to see more than enough. Adolf Hitler. Hitler became Chancellor of Germany in 1933. He quickly consolidated power and began to isolate and expel his opponents. He set up concentration camps whereby over 12 million people, Jews, Christians, Gypsies, or anyone else that he deemed unfit to live, were exterminated. At the same time, he marched his armies across Europe, Africa, and Russia, and killed roughly 20 million more. Mao Zedong. Mao was the leader of China from 1949 until his death in 1976. Mao's policies and political purges during this time are widely believed to have caused the deaths of between 50 to 70 million people. One of those policies was the nationalization of all farms, while making the private production of food illegal. This meant that many farmers had little food to eat. Millions starved. Li Ru, Mao's personal secretary, is stated as saying, "Mao's way of thinking and governing was terrifying. He put no value on human life. The deaths of others meant nothing to him." Historians such as Yang Shang argue that Mao was well aware that his policies would be responsible for the deaths of millions, saying, for instance, that, quote, "half of China may well have to die." Joseph Stalin. Stalin nationalized the farms of the Soviet Union and starved millions to death in the process. During the Great Terror of the 1930s, Stalin purged the nation of what he called enemies of the people, resulting in the execution of thousands and the exile of millions to the Gulag system of slave labor camps. It is estimated that during his time in power, 20 to 40 million people died. Pol Pot, leader of Cambodia in the 1970s. He eliminated 25% of his people in less than 4 years. Idi Amin, leader of Uganda, also in the 1970s. The number of people killed as a result of his regime is estimated by international observers and human rights groups to range from 100,000 to 500,000. These were some of the more notorious dictators of the last century, but to see one of history's worst, we will have to go back to the 15th century. Lord Vlad Tepes III, aka Vlad the Impaler, who was the basis for the legend of Count Dracula. Vlad has been characterized as a tyrant who took sadistic pleasure in torturing and killing his enemies. The number of his victims ranges from 40,000 to 100,000. According to the German stories, the number of victims he killed was at least 80,000. In addition to the 80,000 victims mentioned, he also had whole villages and fortresses destroyed and burned to the ground. The atrocities committed by Vlad in the German stories include impaling, torturing, burning, skinning, roasting and boiling people, feeding people the flesh of their friends and relatives, cutting off limbs, and drowning. Other methods of punishment include skinning the feet of thieves, then putting salt on them, and letting goats lick off the salt. Impalement, however, was Vlad's preferred method of torture and execution. His method of torture was a horse attached to each of the victim's legs, as a sharpened stick was gradually forced into the body. The end of the stake was usually oiled, to ensure the stake would not puncture any organs, and care was taken that the stake not be too sharp, else the victim might die too rapidly from shock. It is also said that Vlad enjoyed watching these impalements while he ate dinner.